So this is the first live interview webinar that we're doing here with UDETI and the general public. So thank you so much for finding us online or Instagram or LinkedIn and registering for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The focus here is what not to say during your F1 visa interview. About me, my name is Yvette Bansal. I am a former consular officer. The reason my last name is Bansal is because I actually got married in India, and I worked in India in Consulate General Mumbai and New Delhi for almost 5 years. I adjudicated so many visas, 40,000, 50,000 non-immigrant and immigrant visas. I interviewed a lot of students, and I recently left the State Department and started UDETI. And this is a company that prepares students with mock interviews so that they can ace their visa interview. Because I saw a lot of students make a lot of common mistakes at the window. So this is going to cover those common mistakes. Okay. So what are the visa officers thinking at the window? They're thinking three things. Are you sufficiently prepared to succeed in your studies? Are you a serious student? And can you pay for your education? So the common questions that consular officers ask ascertain whether or not you can pass these three categories. For example, for are you sufficiently prepared to succeed in your studies? They're going to look at your former grades, your background, your English language skills. All these are going to be telling the officer if you can actually succeed in your studies. Now, are you a serious student? This can show up in how many admits you received, and if you can talk about your future plans, if you know the investment that you're making, you can explain your program, you can explain your schools, you can explain the nuances of your program, how many credit hours it is, why you selected it. Excuse me. And finally, can you pay for your education? So a consular officer is going to figure out first, like if you're going to be able to succeed, and if you are able to succeed, are you actually serious about succeeding? Because there's a lot of students that have the potential to succeed, but they don't have the intent to actually study in the United States, or maybe they want to just go and work. So finally, can you pay for your education is really a question that's asked after they've determined if you're actually a serious student and that you can succeed in the United States. All right, so why have you selected your school? A common thing that people say is this is the best school in the world. So they're not very specific. They give a very general answer. And if it's not the best school in the world, like there are some students going to mid-tier schools, you don't want to be saying, oh, this is the best program in the world. It makes you sound a little bit naive and not authentic. So just don't say that it's the best school in the world. Be specific and know what you're going to say when you go in there. Okay. I want to work with, this is a joke. I want to work with Professor Xavier, but the reason why I have this in here is because it's so common for an applicant to tell me that they want to specifically work with a professor that it becomes almost 80% of applicants mentioning two things: course curriculum and the professor. Remember, consular officers have to adjudicate so many 120 visas between 8:30 in the morning and noon. They don't have time to ask the follow-up questions that I'm asking. You need to be making sense. And the way you're going to stand out as an applicant is to be original. If every single person is talking about wanting to work with a specific professor, then your answer is just going to sound redundant and rehearsed and inauthentic. So I'm going to give you a better example. I had a client who also was telling me, oh, I want to work with this professor. And the professor's research was in gear shifting. And I didn't understand why he mentioned this. But after I asked some questions, it turns out his father has a gear shifting company. The professor introduces a lot of workshops into the program regarding gear shifting. So when he talks about the program, instead of talking about the professor like he did before, I told him to talk about the workshops and how that's going to be applicable to his future plans. I want to know about you. I don't want to know about a professor. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to go on to the next question. So the question is, what does your father do? So a lot of students, especially in India, will give a very one-word answer. So to what does your father do? They'll go ahead and they'll say, you know, something very brief. My father is a businessman. Or who's sponsoring you? My family. How much do you have saved for your education? X amount. So those are all one-word answers. The officer is going to be dragging out of you exactly what they want to hear, which is the full picture of finances. Don't do that, and don't say my father is a businessman and just leave it at that. But in India specifically, you can talk about the income as a whole. My father does this, my mother does this, my brother is also in our joint family. We have a combined income of X amount. We also have a savings of X amount. If you want to mention immovable assets, like people in India also have great immovable assets or rental income, you can mention it. Club everything together and present your points as a whole, and don't piecemeal it. Give a good financial picture. I hope that makes sense. So the other thing I want to mention is something that generally people in India do. They'll call the officer ma'am or officer. You can say that once or twice, but the repetitive use of ma'am will kind of put you on a lower tier than the officer. I want you to be confident when you go up there. I want you to step up to the plate, step up to that window, and not use ma'am, and just answer the questions and just avoid using the word ma'am. You don't have to refer to the officer as anything. You can just answer their questions directly and act as if you're talking to your favorite professor or your favorite uncle at a nice dinner. Be on the same level of as them. Be confident, be relaxed, be authentic. And that's what I want from you guys, is to talk naturally and not talk very robotically, and not to put yourself below the officer by using ma'am excessively. So that's the tip. Don't say ma'am. And so this is kind of coming to the conclusion of our webinar. I'm going to get to the final page here and then answer some questions. And so if you want to book a consultation with me, this is especially important if you don't feel like you have your story right. Don't wait for a prior refusal. If you've had a prior refusal, like, I'll be honest with you guys, like, if you need help or you don't need help. But if you're in a more vulnerable situation, maybe you only got a couple of admits, maybe you're not confident about what you want to say, or you have a unique circumstance, especially if you have a PR where you need someone to walk you through it, then definitely book a consultation with me. There are some things that make you more vulnerable, like big gap years, things that don't align well, sponsorship that are more distant relatives, high loans and low level of savings, like, you know, undergraduate students. There are things that make you more vulnerable. So if you want to book a consultation, you can go on the website. It's essentially, you answer a few questions, you select a date, and you book your time to meet with me personally. You upload documents like your I-20 and your DS-160. I'll review them. And if there's any issues on your DS-160, I'll let you know how you can edit it on the application platform for State Department, and we'll do a video consultation. I'll give you a checklist for the day of and notes about what you did well and what you can improve on. So if you have any questions, oh my goodness. If you have any questions, we have sales and customer service, awesome guy, Hatish, who can answer all your questions, like tell you how to book. If you're lucky, he has some promo codes in his pocket that he can give you. So direct all your questions at Hatish at udetivisa.com. He's out of near Mumbai, Pune area too. So he's awesome. And we also have Koser, who writes our blog, and she works with me to write those blogs. So all that information is awesome and fantastic. Janet works on our social media. So if you want to follow us on UDETI, if you have any anything you want to tell us, please do just email us you can email Hatish directly, go on our website. We also have another general email. I don't have a ton of questions, but one question is, if you only have one admission, is that going to affect the visa success rate? So it can, because it shows that maybe you're not as serious of a student. So you may get the questions of like, why just one admit? It just depends. If you really went out of your way to apply to really difficult schools and you only got one admission, that's different than only applying to one school that maybe has a high admission rate. So it really depends. If you have one admission, I would recommend that you book a consultation with me and we work on that answer, because it does put you in a more vulnerable position to only have one admit. And an attendee is asking specifics for why DePaul University. I talked about that earlier in the presentation. You're going to have to really do your research. You can also mention things like a great international community, great exposure to diversity, and urban living in downtown Chicago. You can talk about the structure of the program. And in DePaul University, you're on the quarter system. It's a fantastic university. It offers a lot of different definitely a lot of different things that you can pull from, but just generally speaking. So I'm going to address, and I really want to thank everybody for attending today. I hope you attend in the future. I think on the last Thursday of the month, I might do different sessions on different topics. So I hope that you sign up for our newsletter so you get all the updates, or our newsletter if there's any future events that you can get into. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting a startup like us. Take care.